I'm Ben Lance, Executive Advisor to APC Media. That would include Power Systems Technology Magazine, Transformer Technology Magazine, and Women in Power Systems Magazine. We're here today in Paris, France at the CIGRE 2024 conference, talking with industry thought leaders, interviewing them to gain their insights into the trends, challenges, and solutions, and bringing those insights to you. Our next guest is Seamus Allan with Dynamic Ratings. Welcome, Seamus.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, look, I'd like to lead off with a question about yourself. How did you get your start in the industry?
Yeah, it's a good question because I came into the industry as a software engineer, software and firmware engineer. I thought I was going to be working designing electronics and working in some dark room somewhere. And I pretty quickly moved into Dynamic Ratings, where I was working on software and firmware initially. And I couldn't believe the junction that this company has, being kind of working on this like microelectronic level, but also working, on a 500 kV network.
Fascinating.
That combination of small things with really big stuff that has an impact is really exciting. And I kind of just fell headfirst into that because it's lots of challenges, lots of interesting solutions, and yeah, it's great to be part of that.
Fantastic. So now you're the global portfolio manager for all your products worldwide. So what does that look like? Tell me a little bit about Dynamic Ratings in your role.
Yeah, so we're basically come from a background of asset health management and investigating the health of assets through online monitoring.
Oh, okay.
And so measuring as many different data points you can around particular large assets, and then interpreting that data, ideally online, to be able to provide insights to customers to take action to manage or maintain those assets in a more intelligent way. And it's coming into an industry which for the last 100 years has done things by putting their hand on transformer tanks or listening to how circuit breakers sound. And we felt there was a massive space to be able to take that data and do intelligent things with it, capture the knowledge of intelligent people that have been working in this industry for a long time. And those people that were listening to the circuit breakers, they could tell when things were going wrong. And we decided to try to work out how we could codify that on top of the measurements that we're taking, and then basically make that more accessible for the newer generations and for other utility users. So,
well, I think you're hitting on some of the points that I wanted to ask you about, really from your perspective, which is a global perspective. What are some of the challenges that you see in the industry that we need to be solving or that are creating opportunities for Dynamic Ratings?
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest things at the moment is the knowledge gap that's emerging with the senior engineers that have been around for a long time, came from the tools as apprentices and worked their way up into these knowledgeable positions, and now starting to retire now. And they've been sort of a progeny of that for many years of replacement and filling that pipeline. And the talent pipeline's kind of dried up at the moment. A lot of young engineers tend to be hopping around quite a lot. The idea of sticking at the same job for 40 or 50 years is foreign to a lot of younger people. And that there's an emerging knowledge gap of people that might be doing asset management for a transformer or a circuit breaker and may never have actually seen one or touched one or looked inside one before. And I think that's creating a challenge to be able to make intelligent decisions about what to do and how to operate this equipment if you don't have that. And so that's opening up a door to say, well, how can we capture that information, that knowledge, as quickly as possible, and then make that accessible to others through tools that give them the results, and back that up with services that can say, well, you're getting this result, take these actions because we've got a guy here who can tell you what's going on in there, or we can connect you through CIGRE or other networks like this to be able to say we can bring people in to help you manage that. But I think, the ability for us to fill that gap where there's a decline in knowledge is
and that's, we've talked to several other leaders in the industry, thought leaders, and that seems to be a reoccurring theme. So you're saying that your technology or your solutions are enablers. So you're able to take all kinds of information and do what with it? How do you present that to the customer?
We have, like sensing and measuring things is really easy, and we've done that for a very long time, and we're able to do that very reliably. And we've got a lot of different products and different families of things that are collecting data, which is interesting. But if you can't do anything with that data, it's pretty meaningless.
Data overload.
And in many cases, even that data is just sitting out in the substations or on the assets inside boxes, and the little data islands out there. And
Data islands. I
And
like
it's
that
it's
term.
it's yeah, it's either that or they're connected into the traditional SCADA systems, where kind of like the running joke is that's where data goes to die. It's like it goes into an operational system for people that are looking to do things immediately, not for people who want to go and analyze the data and see
Are the
what's
lights
going on.
out or not, right?
Basically, and not is this transformer on its way out in the next 5 years, 10
Right.
years, whatever it might be. And so we've been trying pretty hard to get that data back from the substations and put it in the hands of the right people in a format that they can digest and comprehend and take advantage of it. And so in the last probably 5 to 10 years, that's been a massive focus for our company to say, how do we get that data back? How do we make it all consistent? And then how do we leverage that to make it more accessible to other, to the next generation? And so it's been pretty exciting.
So is that where you're innovating mostly, is in that area of space of trying to get the data and assemble it in a way that's has not just alarms going off everywhere, but actionable information?
Yep, actionable information, and taking the best practices, which organizations like we're here are talking about. There's these huge data sets and health indicators and what we should be doing with them, and again putting that into systems that can codify it, raise a flag and say, come and take a look at this, because based on a CIGRE recommendation or an IEEE performance guide or whatever it might be, these are the actions you should be taking based on the measurements that we're making down in the substation. I think that's making good value out of the equipment in the substation and the people that are having to look at it.
Wow. Yeah, that seems like a daunting task to help solve some of our asset management, and with a lot of the new trends like the distributed energy, and there's so many new, there's systems such as inverter systems and transients and so forth, that this is creating a totally different environment for our grid.
Yep.
And here you are on the grid edge collecting that data and assembling it in a way that junior engineers, planners, men and women who are just coming into the industry, who are maybe attracted to the industry because, it's neat and interesting that energy is such a big part of our life, right? Now, how do we create a scenario where we can use the information that we're collecting and solve some of these big industry problems, right?
Absolutely. And the emerging problems are kind of the exciting thing right now, aren't they? It's like, it's the same old network, but we've got a whole new set of challenges on top of it.
Right.
Like with all of the inverter-based generation, the large loads with electric vehicles and whatnot, it's basically straining that network, which has been around for 100 years, a little bit more, with a whole lot of new challenges. And the utilities can't go out and replace their network or upgrade all the transformers or do anything like this. And so they're having to find ways to use this data, maybe in a different way than they would have previously. Unique control systems and management of those different challenges, which is stuff that no one could have foreseen 10 years ago. And now we're controlling the networks based on all different parameters than we did before. And so having that data available and accessible and able to be manipulated is pretty critical.
Yeah, well, I heard a statistic that 10% of circuits in the U.S. are capable of handling the loads that we're predicting are going to happen. So you've got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And everywhere we go in the world, any of these events, you can go and see they're having the same conversation. They're saying, we want to switch to a low carbon economy, and it's going to require an awful lot of electrification, which is going to increase demands enormously.
Right.
And then switching to the non-fossil fuel based generation, which with the capacity factors of those stations means you have to have a lot more of them. So yeah, the network is not ready for all of that. And there's the amount of work that's going to go into it over the next few decades is going to be phenomenal. I heard someone saying that it was like the electrification era in the early 1900s, where the networks grew at an extremely rapid pace. And in the later 1900s, it sort of leveled off and plateaued for a little while as, industrialization kind of leveled out. And we're now going through another spurt that'll be an enormous growth for the networks. And the people aren't there. And so that's going to be very much data-based and trying to use the tools that we have to have. We've got to supplement the fact that we just can't throw people at it anymore.
Right. So we're here at CIGRE 2024 in Paris, and exciting to be here with you and other thought leaders. So what excites you about being here at CIGRE?
I think CIGRE is amazing because it's one of those coalescences of people from all over the world who are bringing their problems, their challenges, but also their discoveries. And I like the idea that CIGRE represents the concept of not reinventing the wheel. because utilities have a real tendency to keep looking inwards and solve problems themselves, and often everybody is solving the same problem. Like everybody is moving power from A to B. It's ultimately what every utility in the world does. And so CIGRE is this great way to come together and say, oh, we're having this problem. Someone else to say, well, we've got a solution. Do you want to try it out?
Right.
And I sit on a working group for dynamic thermal modeling of power transformers.
Okay.
And it's great to have people from all over the world come together and share their experiences, their improved models, to compare, to have some good, robust dialogue, and to come out of it with some amazing recommendations and guidance for the power industry around the world. And I think I find super exciting at CIGRE.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, this has been fascinating. I've appreciated your insights into the industry, and also fascinating all the solutions that you're bringing to solve some of those challenges. Do you have any final comments for our audience that you'd like to lay out there?
I think I can only really say is I can encourage everybody to get involved in the industry organizations, to sort of come out of their offices and share that knowledge and see what other people are doing. I think it's critical, and events like this really highlight the fact that there is a great amount to be shared and a great amount to learn. And if we do that, the rate that we can solve those problems, emerging problems, I think will dramatically increase. And I think that's only going to have a positive impact for everybody everywhere. So if we're able to do more collaborative work and through situations like this, I really recommend
invest in learning, invest in the relationships and the networking opportunities.
And sharing.
And sharing. Excellent. Well, that's good advice. Seamus, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Thank you.